One of the things that is being reported with men participating in female athletes is the sexual abuse aspect of this. I do not believe that it is kind or compassionate to erase biological women and girls and pretend that they are the same thing as a man who claims to be a girl. I do not believe that that is kind and compassionate. I do not believe that it is kind or compassionate to allow men and boys to dominate women's athletics. I do not believe that it is kind or compassionate to deny a girl a college scholarship because a boy was faster and stronger.
Who is enforcing this on-demand gender check? You didn't put that into the bill. Seems a little creepy that we don't know who's going to be determining genders here. Ms. Hageman, I'm deferring to you. You're the only one that wants to speak on this. It's interesting, you're the only one who wants to speak on this. No one else will even touch this because it's kind of creepy that you're setting up on-demand gender checks. Kind of obvious.
Order? Are you calling me creepy?
Welcome back, and if that clip didn't grab you by the collar, I don't know what will. What we just watched was a heated, no-holds-barred clash in the Senate Judiciary Committee. Harriet Hageman versus Eric Swalwell over a bill protecting women's sports from transgender athletes. This wasn't polite back and forth. This was a brutal, high-stakes showdown over fairness, biology, and priorities. Harriet Hageman stood firm, direct, confident, unflinching. Eric Swalwell pushed back hard, calling parts of it creepy and trying to redirect to bigger issues. We're gonna watch the full exchange, break it down step by step, and I'll give you my honest, no-spin take on who landed the stronger case and why. If you care about real fairness in women's sports and serious policy debates without the usual media spin, smash that like button, subscribe to, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's get into it.
It is my understanding that this reporting requirement is already required, so I believe that this is redundant. But there's just a few points. I'm not opposed to this amendment because we already have a requirement of reporting sexual abuse perpetrated against any athlete to the appropriate local, state, or federal authorities. But there's a couple of points that I would make in response to the statements made by the proponent of this amendment. When you talk about sexual abuse against women, one of the things that we have repeatedly heard about is women athletes being forced to undress in front of men who are in their locker room. We have heard about this mantra of please be kind and compassionate. I don't understand what is kind or compassionate about forcing female athletes to share locker rooms with male athletes. I don't understand why we are talking about the sexual abuse of women and then immediately turning and pivoting to the idea that that's happening against men. It is happening against women. We're all opposed to the sexual abuse of women. But one of the things that is being reported with men participating in female athletes is the sexual abuse aspect of this. I do not believe that it is kind or compassionate to erase biological women and girls and pretend that they are the same thing as a man who claims to be a girl. I do not believe that that is kind and compassionate. I do not believe that it is kind or compassionate to allow men and boys to dominate women's athletics. I do not believe that it is kind or compassionate to deny a girl a college scholarship because a boy was faster and stronger. I do not believe that if you read the bill that is at issue here, all we have done is to not define female and male and simply state that it would prohibit a person whose sex is male from participating in an amateur athletic competition that is designated for females, women, and girls. That is the only thing that this bill does. This is not a bill about transgenderism. This is not a bill that attacks the transgender community. It is about protecting women and girls in women and girls athletics. That is all. There are biological differences between girls and boys, regardless of what someone may claim that they are. All this bill does is make sure that we are being kind and compassionate to our female athletes. But if you believe that there is a need to include this amendment, I'm not opposed to it, but we need to stop attacking us, stop attacking Republicans, simply because we're trying to protect women and girls. We are very sincere in our belief that it is critically important that women and girls are able to access and participate in athletics. We believe that it is incredibly important that 13-year-old girls are able to play volleyball and basketball without the risk of being injured by a man or a boy. We are entirely sincere in protecting our families of girls and women who do not believe that their girls and women should have to compete against boys and men. With that, I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back to
Chairman, I just want to confirm that the amendment is accepted.
Yeah, I got to call the question, I think we should adopt the amendment too. I think that's generally understood. All those in
Move to strike the last word.
gentleman from California is recognized.
I guess it's a good thing that some folks on the other side are now interested in what happens in a locker room, and we're not going to look the other way. Okay? I'll accept that. But this is something that is not a thing. It's not a thing. We have things happening in our community that are a thing. Kids getting mowed down by assault rifles at their school, that's a thing. Young women in their community having IVF treatments banned, that's a thing. Women being forced into government-mandated pregnancies, that's a thing. And those are all things that we can address in this committee. But okay, I'll play out this exercise with y'all. How are you going to enforce this? No, I'm yielding to somebody over there. Tell them, how are you going to enforce this? This is an on-demand gender check that you want to be a part of now. So who's enforcing it? Is Mr. Jordan enforcing it? Is Mr. Gates enforcing it? Mr. Biggs? Who is enforcing this on-demand gender check? You didn't put that into the bill. Seems a little creepy that we don't know who's going to be determining genders here. Ms. Hageman, I'm deferring to you. You're the only one that wants to speak on this. It's interesting, you're the only one who wants to speak on this. No one else will even touch this, because it's kind of creepy that you're setting up on-demand gender checks. Kind of obvious.
Order? Are you calling me creepy?
I'm saying it's creepy that you're setting up an on-demand gender check and you won't tell us how you're going to enforce it.
May I respond to that? Will you engage in it colloquially?
Tell me how you're going to enforce it, yes.
Well, according to the U.S. boxing transgender policy, they're the ones that plan on doing the inspection. The athlete has declared that her gender identity is female and has completed gender reassignment surgery. So
how
not
do they inspect
protecting
it?
girls and women
How do they inspect it?
protects us. That, I guess you're going to have to ask the Boxing Association.
Shouldn't you know?
They're
This is your
the
bill.
ones that have adopted the policy.
I reclaim my time. They don't know. They don't know. They see a small issue that's happening in a few communities, and they want to extrapolate that across America, and they want you to think it's a thing. It's not a thing. There are things. Gun violence, fertility bans, government-mandated pregnancies, those are things. This is not a thing. Ms. Jackson-Lee, who has a bill to address the targeted violence against the transgender community, that's a thing. That's something we should be working on. This is not a thing, and so I just invite my Democratic colleagues who have so passionately spoke on this to continue to passionately speak on this, but to just reject this as a thing.
Now that we've seen the full exchange, here's my straight take. Harriet Hageman made one thing crystal clear from the jump. This bill isn't about attacking anyone. It simply prevents biological males from competing in athletic events designated for females. That's the core argument, fairness on the field. She focused on biological differences between males and females, advantages that are real, measurable, and irreversible after puberty. From her perspective, this is about protecting opportunities for women and girls. And honestly, that argument isn't radical, it's common sense. Women's sports were created to ensure equal opportunity. The concern Hageman raises is whether that fairness is being preserved. She also hit hard on privacy in locker rooms. Forcing female athletes to share private spaces with biological males raises legitimate concerns. Concerns shared by many parents and athletes. Hageman leaned into that point with zero apology. Eric Swalwell took a different tack. He argued the issue is being exaggerated and said there are much bigger national problems, like gun violence and reproductive rights. Those are serious issues, absolutely. But bringing up other crises doesn't automatically make this one irrelevant. One of the most intense moments came when Swalwell questioned enforcement. He called gender checks creepy and pressed Hageman on who would decide eligibility. That was a strong rhetorical hit. But here's my view. Questioning enforcement details is fair. Every bill needs clarity. However, concerns about implementation don't cancel out the broader fairness discussion. If enforcement needs refining, lawmakers can fix it. That's the legislative process. Another thing that stood out, Hageman accepted the amendment on reporting sexual abuse, even while calling it redundant. That shows willingness to find common ground where it exists. At the end of the day, Harriet Hageman presented a consistent, focused message. Protect fairness. Protect opportunities. Protect women and girls in sports. Eric Swalwell focused more on reframing the issue as a distraction and highlighting potential problems with enforcement. In my opinion, Harriet Hageman came across as steady, principled, and laser-focused on the fairness question. That is my take. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Harriet Hageman made the stronger case, or do you agree with Eric Swalwell's concerns about enforcement and priorities? Drop your thoughts below, let's talk, and I'll see you in the next breakdown. Stay sharp, stay informed. America first.